going on, guys? This is the 5 Yard Pass podcast with me, Suddy, and this is Shyam, bringing you the 100th episode of the 5 Yard Pass podcast in an international break, which is a bit shit. But we're here to talk about some transfer news. We're here to talk about the shambles that is Barcelona, and we might just revisit title aspirations and challenges of the Premier League, which is our bread and butter on the show. So let's just start off, man. By the way, great jersey there, Shyam. Maradona 86 World Cup, I believe.
I just got it today. Yeah, just wanted to go a bit retro. Got my Maradona 86 on. Yeah.
Was that
Maradona
the
and the
sponsor
10
on it?
other guys who won the World Cup. Yeah.
Yeah. The guy who passed to Maradona against the England team when he scored the solo goal against Peter Shilton. Was it Peter Shilton? I think it was.
Yeah.
Probably sure would have been a goal. And the guy says it was the greatest assist of all time because that's the greatest goal of all time.
Oh, 100%. Without the assist.
I don't know who it is. Exactly. All right. We'll talk about title challenges. The transfer window's wrapped up. We'll talk about it in a minute. But title challenges. We're 3 games in. Chelsea, Liverpool unbeaten. United's unbeaten as well. Spurs are on top. Arsenal's at the bottom of the ladder. I mean, we never really counted Arsenal a title challenge, and are they really big six anymore? Leicester has a mixed start. Man City's doing well. Anything to change? And I think we both might have the same thought. We didn't really we didn't want to align things before talking live, but any changes in thoughts in the way you think things might permeate with Ronaldo coming in as well? It's a huge fucking deal, and Man City not getting him as well. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I thought Arsenal were going to be not good. I didn't realize they were going to be this bad. That's one big thing for me. Tottenham have etched out 3 wins, but they're kind of 3-1-0 wins, set pieces, penalties. I expect them to sort of gravitate a bit more towards where you'd expect them to be. Obviously, beating City is a big deal, but you'd expect them to win the other 2 games. In regards to the rest of the league, it's. I think most things are moving where we thought it would. I think what's happened in the transfer window is that the probability of any club other than the Big 4 winning the league or even making the Champions League has just reduced very significantly. You'd be as good as Leicester have been, as good a start as Tottenham has had. I really don't think anyone's banging on the door of the Champions League this year. I really think that Liverpool and Chelsea, who are 3rd and 4th, have really pushed on. United have had probably one of their best ever windows, really. If you think about 2 genuine world stars and a 3rd potential, great of the club, and of course Tom Heaton coming in, and that really benefits the squad. And then you've got City, who sort of replaced Aguero with Grealish. I really think those 4 have created separation from the rest of the game.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to just quickly touch on it. We talked about it 3 or 4 times already, but it's just, I mean, I think every fan, I've talked to Liverpool, Arsenal, talked to a Burnley, a West Ham fan, and everyone's buzzing to see Ronaldo back in action, and the Newcastle fans get to see it first. Well, I mean, it's a home game, but I wonder who the away game is. I got to check that. But look, it's a big deal. I'll revisit my expectations of the league, and I said City to win. Although I privately said to a lot of people that I think United are going to win the league even before the Ronaldo transfer, I still think City is going to win, but I think the gap's going to be much closer. And I would say the closest challenger that I didn't think of before, it's not even Liverpool. I'd say Liverpool's going to be a lot closer than what I thought before as well. I said United and Liverpool are probably on par. I think United's a bit ahead right now. I think Ronaldo just brings something that's completely different. But I think Chelsea's going to be right up there. It's going to be sniffing at Man City's heels right to the end. And I think, and as I said, I think the top 4 is going to be much closer than ever. But I wouldn't really revise much of what I'm saying. But I will agree with you when I say, fucking hell, man, Arsenal is just shit. They play Norwich in a relegation battle next.
Yeah, epic 6-pointer, 4 games in, and they are not last. They are distant last. They are proper shambles. And they had players that against City, but like, who's going to come in that makes that team better? They're just so disjointed. And you don't see sort of the rally call to arms, like if the club's doing badly, you expect someone to come out and make some statement, but it's just they've gone very introverted, and there's such a disconnect now between the squad and then the back office and then the fans. It's when United, you've been challenging with Arsenal your entire childhood, you have a bit of banter, but now you just feel sorry for Arsenal fans. And I don't say that in a patronizing way. You genuinely feel sorry for them because they don't feel connected to the club.
It's like the feeling we had when Liverpool had that 10 or 12 games where they were drawing and losing for fun. And after a while, it just became like, this was fun in January, it's March. And then they got back on track and they did well. Always knew Liverpool was going to. And we said this about Arsenal, they went on a 10-year trophyless run and they kind of got back with a few FA Cup wins. And then they won the FA Cup 2 seasons ago, but they've just, they're bottom because they haven't even scored a goal. I thought Norwich was bottom. I thought Norwich had conceded more goals, but I was wrong. They've conceded the same amount of goals. In fact, I think Norwich conceded one more, but Norwich has scored a goal. That's why they're second last. So, I mean, I don't rule anything up with Arsenal. I don't want to hop. It's like beating a fucking dead cat, really, not even a dead horse. It's a tough one to take for them. I want to quickly touch on this before we get to the transfers. West Ham are looking good. West Ham are looking like they rebuilt and refurbished to last the distance this year. I think even more so than Leicester. I would argue. I just think Leicester. I think it could be a case. It just with a bit of luck. I think West Ham's on par in able to finish the season off this year a bit stronger than Leicester historically. Besides their title-winning season, they have never finished the league well.
Yeah, you almost wonder with Leicester. Just that injury to Fofana. There's a lack of depth in the centre back positions.
Yeah,
I do think that they have a good chance if they can stay injury free, but they just always seem to have issues with injuries. West Ham, I'm not quite convinced they're better than Leicester, but they're definitely better than last season. There's more purpose and a robustness about them. I think that identities come back, and we were both wondering how they would respond to having fans around. They responded very positively. I think that almost being away maybe helped the fans connect with the team a bit more. And I think that everyone's on the same page now. And Mikel Antonio, geez, that guy has ripped, isn't he? Like, look at him from behind, and there's just muscles popping out everywhere. He's an Olympian, Mr. Olympiad. Sorry, like he's a muscular man.
Yeah.
But they've got a lot of pieces there that are coming together. And I think last season was more his first full season, so he's had another preseason where he can really start to put things together. And they're starting to look a lot
how old is he?
like that Everton side. I don't like comparing too often, but they are reminding me a bit of that Everton side that Moyes had for many years.
Yeah, well, he's 31. He's like in the peak of his powers, Michael Antonio. I think last year as well was a good indication that when West Ham have good personality, Michael Antonio is a West Ham man through and through. But when Jesse Lingard came, he just gave something different, a bit of joy to the team. And Michael Antonio, maybe more so than ever, he's always been like that. But I think more so than ever, he just seems to be pushing his team on. Let's change gears a bit before we finish up. What a transfer window! And I think the two things I wanted to highlight here was Saul Niguez to Chelsea. I woke up was it yesterday morning or this morning to that news. I was shocked. I couldn't believe what a transfer, what a loan deal. I think there's an option to buy. I got to double check that. And also the whole Barca fiasco. It was meant to be a swap between. So Griezmann and Felix were meant to swap, and then Griezmann goes, and now they got Luke de Jong from Sevilla on a loan deal. I mean, what is going on? It's a fucking shambles, and we could write a book about it, but let's try and surmise this as quick as we can.
Firstly, Saul is a brilliant sign. I would have loved United to even get him on loan. I would have absolutely loved that. Yeah. I think that I don't want to go into a United rant, but I feel that if United play 4-2-3-1, then if you look at the attacking three in the one, you've got basically Pogba, Fernandes, Sancho, Greenwood, Cavani, Ronaldo, Rashford, Martial, Lingard, who nearly got West Ham in the Champions League, Juan Mata. Those players are playing for four positions. If you got Saul, you could basically play 4-3-3 like Liverpool and City and have five of those players play a game as opposed to four. I think it changes the dynamic quite a bit. So Saul or a player like Saul would have been a really good pickup for United. But Chelsea now, the center midfield for me, they didn't really have any depth behind Kante and Jorginho. I don't really rate Kovacevic. I think he's plateaued massively. This has gone from being Real Madrid bench player to really just sort of plateauing. So I think he's a massive pickup for them. And he's Spanish, so he knows he's got good football IQ. He's tougher than you think. You think of him as a flair player, but he's actually he's solid. Yeah. He's played centre back at times as well, not for Atletico, but for teams when he's gone out on loan and things like that. So great signing for Chelsea. Be interesting to see if they buy him. I think 5 years left in his contract. It'd be interesting to see. I don't see Simeone letting him go easily. So it'd be interesting to see if there's a buy clause in there. And Barcelona, I mean, they've lost Messi and Griezmann for basically nothing, and it's astonishing. You wonder how bad the situation must be for that to happen.
And you can add Suarez in this whole fiasco as well.
And Suarez as well, yeah. So that's I mean that's if those three played in a front three, that's like an all-time front three,
Yeah,
as in
yeah,
like one of the best front threes in world football at the moment if they were playing together. But they've now gone
yeah.
in what Griezmann and Suarez have gone to Atletico. And it's interesting because there are players with Simeone. Luis Felipe played for Atletico when they made the first Champions League final. They won the league in 2014,
Hmm.
and he moved to Chelsea.
Yeah,
And after about 6 months, he's like, "No, I need to go back to Atletico. Simeone's going to get the best out of me. I need to go back." And
yeah,
he basically begged Chelsea to sell him to Atletico Madrid, and Chelsea
yeah,
agreed on the basis that they got back what they paid for him, which
yeah.
Atletico did that. But Griezmann seems a bit like that. Like it's almost as if Simeone got the best out of him.
Mm.
They always used to in Spain. There was a nickname for Griezmann. I forget what it was in Spanish, but basically they called him Poor Thing. That's what they called him while he was
Huh.
at Barcelona. Like we would say Malayalam, we say Pavam. Like it was that sort of
Yeah,
type of name. Like he
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah,
playing very Pavam, like
yeah,
just
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
quite there. And I think that's perhaps will help him go up to another level. I don't know what he's done with his wages, and it
Mm.
looks like it's a loan with an option to buy. So Atletico don't necessarily have to pay the transfer fee now. They can pay it next season, and there's a few moves like that, which is smart, particularly given the constraints
Yeah,
around La Liga. But it just shows what a shit show Barcelona got themselves into. That they've lost three
I
great
mean,
players and replaced them
a
with
lot of
Braithwaite and the Sevilla player whose
the
name I
young,
forgot.
Luke Young.
19 goals and
Um,
94 appearances, and now he's playing up front for
yeah,
Barcelona. I don't get the logic of that.
I think the right man to steer Barcelona back into the black, so to speak, is Laporte. I think Joseph Bartomeu. He fucked the club up real bad, and
Oh, massively.
Laporte. I remember in the late 90s, or maybe it was 2001, when Laporte got that role in his previous stint. He built that Rijkaard team. People think of the Messi and the Pep team as, but I know you remember that great Rijkaard team. You could even argue individually there were players far superior than some of the play. Besides maybe Messi, Xavi, and Iniesta, there were players far superior than the rest
Deco,
of the
Ronaldinho, yeah, there were some really good players.
Ludovic Giuli, Puyol overlapped over Rafael Marquez. I think Valdez it was Rusto Rekba as a goalkeeper. Maybe it was Valdez. I can't remember right now. Eto, obviously. So it's the right man to steer them back in the direction. But like, there's nothing else to be said. What a shit show. Um, I think
They're gonna
I think
they're
a lot
gonna
of
have to
credit.
take almost. Sometimes you say one step back to take two forward. This is more like 3 steps back to take four
Yeah,
steps forward. It is a
and
big correction.
I think Laporte coming out and saying there's no one bigger than Messi. The club's not big. Sorry, Messi's not bigger than the club was a big, big, big statement. That's a Fergie-esque kind of statement. We'll sell Ronaldo. We'll sell Van Nistelrooy. We'll sell Beckham. That kind of move. And I will say this to kind of end off. Atletico not only has become it's one thing to win the league. Leicester's won the league. Man City's won the league. But Atletico has built respect in our lifetime. To see a club in the way United built respect in the 90s and Liverpool did in the 80s. Atletico before our eyes have built this respect, and make no mistake about it, man. Diego Simeone is the godfather of La Liga. You have to pay your respects to the man who wears all black to games. and Barcelona, who I don't know who the Atletico chairman or director of football is, but he's done some phenomenal business
In the
in this
90s
transfer
and the
window, and in many.
2000s, they had they won the double one season and then they got relegated 1 or 2 years later. Like there was real like just up there or down there. They were all over the place. No structure. The fans like you should see Atletico Real games. We don't see it in Australia, but
Yeah,
Atletico Real games are the real deal, man. Those fans
yeah,
hate
yeah,
each other. And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
they
yeah.
don't. It's not like we would think there's a big brother little brother thing. No, they are twin brothers. They hate each other. They know Real Madrid's won more, but Atletico 2 titles in 7 years. They made 2 Champions League finals. They've done a lot of really good. I think they won the Europa right before they won the league as well. So you look at that
Yeah,
trophy
they did
count.
with De Gea. No, with Courtois, and De
And
Gea also had won it. Yeah,
and one thing they've done, which no one's given them enough credit for, they built a new stadium in that time as well. Like if you look at
yeah, they
Arsenal's
did. They won the
problems, it all
Metropolista.
sort of comes back to the stadium and moving from Highbury to the Emirates.
Yeah,
Things that Wenger didn't have enough cash, he didn't quite have the scouting networks in terms of the advantage in the French scouting networks that he'd had to get
yeah,
guys like Vieira and
yeah,
Henry over Perez. No one had heard of Perez before he
yeah.
came to Arsenal. They lost some of that competitive advantage and they've never really recovered. Atletico's built a stadium. They've got a manager in. They've bought players like Felix was like 120 million pounds or something, and they've managed to compete. And you would almost say now because they've managed that cash well, they're definitely ahead of Barcelona. Real, I think, are hiding their cash problems a bit. I kind of got a feeling that the Mbappe transfers were kind of like stardust. They knew that PSG weren't going to sell, and they weren't really looking to buy. I think Real
Yeah,
Madrid will look to get Pogba and Mbappe on freeze.
yeah,
And I think that Atletico financially is probably ahead of them. I think that they probably need to go back to back in the league or win a Champions League to really step up above. But they're in the heavyweight division now. I'll say that.
absolutely. In fact, yeah, they'd be classified probably the top five best teams, one of the best running clubs in the world as well. But look, it's early days in the league. It's transfer window is shut. I think most of the business is done. You're going to see teams not change too much in January as always. I don't think you're going to see big deals. I think next summer's a big one with Haaland thinking about moving. You're going to see a different United if they go win the league or they go win a cup as well. Lots will change next season, but I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be a huge season. I think our next preview we have to do the United Newcastle game because it's Ronaldo's back and we haven't done a United preview yet.
But it's funny that at the beginning of the window we thought Haaland, Mbappe, Pogba, and Harry Kane were probably the big transfers. None of them moved.
None of them. Yeah, yeah.
But there was so much movement. Two of the potential goats moved. One of them's kind of had this massive homecoming, and you see like Chelsea spent big clubs have spent big. PSG have had a football manager-esque window. It's really phenomenal what some of the big clubs have been able to do, but it does look a bit like they're kind of spending a bit of next year's money as well.
Yeah.
And I do think it's a genuine 4-horse race to get to the title. I do think that City and Chelsea have slightly more depth than Liverpool and Manchester United. But I actually do think that Liverpool and Manchester United's first 11 is equal to those two, and perhaps even slightly better. So it'll be interesting to see how.
Sorry, yeah,
how
I
that goes.
I completely agree. I think United have the best 11 in the league. I think Liverpool, if United's at let's say 10 out of 10, Liverpool's a 9.99. I think they're that close. I just think United edge it. I just think Liverpool's cycle is about over. It just feels a little bit over the hill. They just got to rejuvenate a little bit.
I think they had a down year, and I think that it will take a lot of character to come back from last year.
Yeah,
but they have a lot of character.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sold on Liverpool. I have a feeling something's starting again, and I could be completely wrong.
Okay.
But,
okay.
I think that they've got a lot of players in that age window that need to win now. Van Dijk, Salah, Mane,
Firmino, Mane, Robert. I think Robertson's a bit younger.
This team has been bought to succeed now. They have to augment that, and Klopp did say when COVID happened that they're going to start looking more for youth players, and guys like Curtis Jones and Elliott have come in. I do think they're a little bit of the big four teams. I think they're probably the most fragile after the first 11. I don't think they quite have they don't really have an obvious candidate for Alexander-Arnold. They don't really have a third or fourth center midfielder. They got 4 great forwards, but then they sold Shaqiri. So I question that depth. But their first 11
Sham, it's hard. It's hard when you're the best. It's hard when you're the best team in the world, and Liverpool have been for the last few years. And United were in the mid 2000s. In the kind of late noughties. It's hard to buy good players. United turned to youth. Didn't make much out of their youth because they couldn't blood youngsters in, so they had to go and buy it. But United had the money. Liverpool don't because of COVID. That's why I think they're over the cycle, because it's hard for them to rejuvenate. It's hard for them to go and convince. It's easy to convince Jota because he's a very good, underrated player who will come for a bit expensive. It's hard to go and convince players like you couldn't even keep Ronaldo, who's playing the Messi now. It's hard to convince players to come to the best team in the world when they want to play every week. It's easy to convince Origi. It's easy to convince Shaqiri, Simiskas, the left back.
I mean, a lot of those Liverpool players that joined in that what we'll call the Klopp era, they all took a step up to come to Liverpool. Salah did from Roma, Van Dijk from Southampton, Alisson from Roma, Mane from Southampton. Playing like 2 clubs, but you get the idea. I think they all took a step up. So that's always been Liverpool's. That's the direction Liverpool wants to go. They've got a good manager for that in Jurgen Klopp, who loves taking raw diamonds and polishing them. They need to get those people in, and perhaps that's been slightly affected by COVID. I just think that this team has, for lack of a better term, I think that this team might have a last dance. jury's out. I'm not saying that they're going to do anything special.
Yeah, fair enough.
But
No,
I do feel
like I said,
I got Last Dance vibes on this Liverpool team.
but like I said, if United's a 10, Liverpool's a 9.999, and Man City's a 9.97. In my opinion, is that close? I just think United have the boost that no club has at the minute. In fact, I think they could go and beat any team in the world in the next 3 weeks. They have that much of a boost, and they got to maintain
the
that.
Ronaldo signing is genuinely, and I don't say this lightly, it is the greatest signing by any club ever. One of the 4 in England. It's one of the 4 greatest players of all time. Has rocked up, and he used to play for the club. He's going to smash records. I question how much better he actually makes the team, and part of me wishes that he played number 6. But in terms of the stature and the name and the prowess of it, it's like LeBron going to LA. It's like Michael Jordan left Chicago and went to New York, or it's that big a signing. We'll see how much of a difference it makes on the pitch, but because someone's going to have to step aside, and it might actually be Greenwood, who's actually had a really good start to the season, unless he starts playing more on the right. But then what happens with £73 million Jadon Sancho? So incredible amount of attacking talent, and Ronaldo will be the apex of that thrust. Ollie needs to get the combinations and all of that right for that to succeed, but he's got every opportunity, and he's got no excuses now.
Okay, we'll end off with this, and I think I'll end off with this, and we'll finish up here. But I think I'll mark my words. I think the United Newcastle game at Old Trafford will be the most watched club game in football history. Mark my words. We're going to finish off there, Shyam. All right. It's been a brilliant chat as always. It's going to be, as we said, it's going to be a wild ride this season. If last year wasn't wild, this is going to be fucking wilder. All right. Deontay Wilder. All right. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We're the 5 Yard Pass podcast. My name is Suddy, and this is Shyam. Keep football simple, and as always,
keep passing, guys.
Cheers.